I've never seen such an incredible, passionate crowd, and I've never seen that many flags.
If you had been sitting in the upper bowl of Sobeys Stadium on Wednesday night, the first thing you would have noticed was not the tennis. It was the flags, rows of them, 3 striped and gold-starred, held above heads that were not supposed to be there in those numbers, in that city, on that date. The rumors had been building all week that Alex Eala's Toronto debut would draw a crowd unlike anything the National Bank Open had programmed for. That a stadium built for more than 12,000 people would feel Filipino from the concourse to the rafters. That the WTA might be about to witness something its scheduling grid had not planned around. And then the doors opened, and the rumors stopped being rumors. 48 hours earlier, she had been lifting her first career trophy in Washington. Now she was walking onto a court in a country she had never played in before, and the country had already decided she was theirs. Please welcome Alexandra Eala. The question was not whether she could win the match. The question was what she had already turned the stadium into. To understand what happened on Wednesday, you have to compress 3 days into a single frame. On August 3rd, Eala defeated the world number 3, Jessica Pegula, in the Mubadala City DC Open Final, 4-6, 6-4, 6-0, a final set bagel over a top 3 player and her first WTA singles title. On August 4th, the new WTA rankings were released, and Alexandra Eala of the Philippines was the world number 20, a career high and the first time a Filipino player of any gender had ever entered the top 20 of the sport. On August 5th, without a rest day, without a proper training block, without even the ceremony of a homecoming, she boarded a flight north and walked into her Toronto debut. That is the entire context. Champion on Monday, top 20 on Tuesday, debut on Wednesday. And Wednesday did not care that she was tired. The National Bank Open is a WTA 1000, the tier just below the majors, where the depth of the draw punishes anyone whose legs are 2 matches short. Her opponent, Alicia Parks, had beaten her earlier this year at the Australian Open. Parks is a big-serving American with a forehand that ends points before you finish setting up for them. On paper, the tension of the match was straightforward. Could a champion who had not yet slept off her championship find another gear against someone specifically built to punish tired legs? But under the paper, there was a second tension that mattered more. Eala was carrying 2 jobs onto that court. She had to play tennis at the level she had just earned against an opponent who had already solved her once. And she had to be, for the several thousand people in that stadium waving her country's flag, the first Filipino tennis champion they had ever gotten to cheer for in person at a stadium of this size on a broadcast of this scale. Those are not the same job. Most players never learn to do the first. Almost no player is ever asked to do both at the same time. In their first appearance in a foreign country, 48 hours after the biggest week of their life. The WTA has spent the past 2 seasons watching the sport search for its next generational personality, someone who moves audiences the way Serena Williams once did, the way Naomi Osaka briefly did. It has not been obvious where that person would come from. What Wednesday showed is that the answer may already be here, and that the tour's own broadcast planning is now scrambling to catch up. The evidence starts with the match itself. Eala came out of the gate at a level that made the first set almost unfair. She won 5 straight games from 1-all, closed the opener 6-1, and did not face a single break point on her serve in that set. The WTA's own official recap described the atmosphere inside Sobeys Stadium as an electric-packed stadium. Their words, not a fan account, not a Filipino outlet, the tour's own house language. That phrasing matters. A WTA 1000 does not casually use the word electric for a Wednesday second-round match involving a debutante. It uses that word when the room has changed shape. Then the second set arrived and reality caught up. Parks, who does not give free points when she is playing well, saved 4 break points to hold for 3-2, then broke Eala in the 10th game to take the set 6-4. It was the first genuine moment of doubt in the entire week, the first sign that 7 consecutive wins across 2 cities and 2 tournaments were beginning to press down on a 21-year-old body. The third set is where the story of the night was decided. They traded early breaks. Then at 2-all, Eala broke again, and did not look back. 6-2 in the decider. 1 hour and 51 minutes on the clock. 14 break points earned across the match, 5 converted. Her 6th consecutive win. Her 17th career match win at WTA 1000 level. Her 2nd win over Alicia Parks, the first one in Toronto, avenging the Australian Open loss earlier this year that had been quietly filed away by the tennis press and by Eala herself. But the number that mattered was not on the stat sheet. The number that mattered was the one the tournament almost certainly did not model for when they assigned her to a court and a time slot. Sobeys Stadium seats more than 12,000 people. The WTA's own recap called it packed. The overwhelming majority of the noise, according to reporting from Rappler, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and ABS-CBN Sports, was Filipino. Reddit's tennis community in the match thread posted immediately afterward and singled out the Filipino turnout as something else, with multiple non-Filipino tennis fans commenting on the density and the discipline of the crowd. This was not a normal WTA 1000 second-round audience. This was a diaspora that had learned over the past 6 months exactly which airport to fly into and exactly which day to book off work. That is worth sitting with for a moment. Toronto has a tennis history. Toronto has produced Bianca Andreescu, a U.S. Open champion. Toronto has hosted Leylah Fernandez, a U.S. Open finalist and a hometown favorite. Toronto knows what a packed stadium for a home player looks like. What Toronto did not know until Wednesday night is what a packed stadium looks like for a player from a country 9,800 miles away, playing her debut, ranked 20th in the world, seeded 25th in the draw. The tournament is now redrawing its own assumptions in real time. The clearest evidence of that came the next morning when the National Bank Open confirmed that Eala had received the final main draw wild card in the doubles competition, paired with Venus Williams. Venus, 46 years old, back on tour for the first time since 2022. One of the 2 most recognizable names in the history of women's tennis. That pairing was slotted into a night session. When a tournament pairs a debutante with an all-time legend in a night session doubles match, the tournament has told you something about who it thinks fills the building. It is not a coincidence. It is programming. And the tennis press outside the Philippines is now confirming what the crowd already knew. Defector, a subscription-driven American sports publication with no diaspora incentive, published a feature on August 5th describing Eala as catching the WTA's best off guard, citing her service numbers through the Washington run, her tactical patience, and what the piece called mass devotion from her audience. That is a serious American tennis outlet using the phrase mass devotion about a 21-year-old who won her first title 2 days earlier. The New York Times, through The Athletic, ran its own long feature on the DC final and the historic significance of a Filipino winning a WTA title for the first time. The Guardian led its Sunday sports coverage with the story. These are not fan sites. These are the general sports desks of major English-language outlets independently deciding that this run is a global story, not a regional one. And here is where the 2 stories, the tennis one and the crowd one, finally collapse into each other. After match point on Wednesday, still breathing hard, Eala did what champions do on foreign courts. She thanked the city. She thanked the tournament. She said the polite thing about culture and atmosphere. And then, off the script, she said this: "There are so many Filipinos in the crowd tonight. So many flags. Thank you." In her official post-match remarks reported by the WTA, she said the sentence that this entire night had been building toward, the sentence that a country 9,000 miles from Toronto had been waiting to hear its representative say in a place she had never been. She said, "I felt very at home in Canada." In her debut in a WTA 1000 stadium, she used the word home. That is not an athletic quote. That is a cultural document. When Chris Evert, 18-time major champion, one of the most respected analytical voices in tennis, someone who does not casually co-sign rising players, took to her verified Instagram account earlier in the DC week to post about Eala's semi-final win over Alina Svitolina, her caption was 4 words: "Good job, Alexa. Champion. Not future champion. Not one to watch. Champion." Before Eala had lifted a trophy, before the ranking hit 20, before Toronto happened, Evert had already made her decision, and she wanted the tennis internet to know it. Evert has been watching this sport at the highest analytical level for 5 decades. Her Instagram is not a rumor mill. It is a signal she uses sparingly, and she used it here. That is the establishment placing a bet. Her coach, Joan Bosch of the Rafa Nadal Academy, was profiled by ESPN in early August specifically on how he and Eala solved the middle stretch of her DC comeback against Pegula, the point in the second set where a player of her age is supposed to blink and doesn't. ESPN is not a Philippine outlet chasing a national story. It is the largest sports broadcaster in the United States, making the editorial decision that a Filipino player's tactical adjustment is a story worth a feature. 2 independent Tier 1 voices, Evert and ESPN, arriving at the same conclusion in the same week before this Toronto run even started. That is not narrative momentum. That is a consensus forming. The stakes now stretch beyond a single tournament. The Philippines has a sports economy that runs almost entirely through basketball and boxing, with a national attention span for tennis that used to switch on twice a year for the majors and switch off between them. That is no longer the arrangement. Eala's 2026 prize money, per ABS-CBN reporting, is now over $1.5 million US dollars, roughly 93 million Philippine pesos, in a single season before the North American hardcourt swing has even reached its midpoint. Live viewership on Philippine broadcasts has climbed with every round. Broadcast partners are reorganizing their tennis calendars. And on the tour side, WTA 1000 events are increasingly designed around crowd energy as a broadcast asset. A player who brings her own audience city to city, country to country, is no longer a curiosity. She is a scheduling variable. Toronto's decision to build a night session around Eala and Venus Williams is, in the language of tournament programming, an admission of what she is now worth to the building. The next stops, Cincinnati in the middle of August, then the US Open, are already recalculating around the same variable. Anyone who books a session ticket to any of those events for the next month is booking against the possibility that the stadium will feel, at some point that night, like Manila. None of which erases the fact that on Wednesday, she almost lost the second set for reasons that had nothing to do with pure tennis. 6 matches won in 7 days. A flight. A different city. A different court. A different climate. A body that had spent the previous week producing the highest tennis of her career against Pegula, Svitolina, and the field. And then Parks, who does not miss opportunities, saving break points and forcing a third set. Eala's own post-match assessment, per the WTA's official recap, was measured. She played really well in the second, and there were definitely things I could have done a little better. I tried to improve on that in the third. I tried to come out hot and just take all the opportunities that I could because she doesn't really give you much. That is a 21-year-old, 48 hours after her first title, in her first Toronto match, describing a mid-match tactical reset without excuses and without inflation. The fatigue was real. The response to it was more real. So consider where she is standing now, and consider who she is standing next to. She is in the tournament that Chris Evert once dominated, receiving a public endorsement from Chris Evert herself. She is in a doubles draw with Venus Williams by the tournament's design in prime time. She is being written about by ESPN, by the New York Times, through The Athletic, by The Guardian, by Defector, none of whom cover players out of obligation, all of whom cover players who move the needle. Her third-round opponent, Katie McNally, just eliminated the reigning Wimbledon champion. That is the room she is in now. That is the level of the draw. And 48 hours ago, she was lifting a trophy in Washington. And tonight she is standing in a WTA 1000 stadium in a country she had never played in, telling 12,000 strangers she felt at home, and being believed because half of them brought her flag. The WTA's own recap used the word electric. The tournament rearranged its night session around her. The press outside her country is now writing her into the sport's current chapter, not the next one. The sold-out stadium, the shock, the numbers. The country was trying to describe in shorthand what was already happening in the building. The building has made its answer clear. Alex Eala plays Katie McNally. Then later that same week, Venus Williams and Alex Eala will walk out together for a doubles match in Toronto's night session. That is the calendar. That is the room. That is where she is now. And if you want to see what she becomes next, the streams and broadcast schedules are already listed. If you are following this channel, we will be there for every round of it. Because whatever this is, it is not slowing down. Subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications. Drop a comment and tell us what stood out most, the flags, the third set response, or the fact that she already called Canada home. The fans who saw this coming are already here. The rest of the sport is still catching up.